Okay folks, up until this point we've been finding the volume of cylinders. The aim of the question is for you to find the volume. That's the subject of this formula. The formula is set up to find volume. And in order to do that, you obviously need to know what pi is, you need to know what the radius of the cylinder is, and you need to know what the height of the cylinder is. Because obviously these two things control how big it is, so that controls what its volume is. So we tell you the radius and the height, you work out what the volume is. But we can use this formula in a different way. We can adapt it so that if we tell you what the volume is and what the radius is, you can work out what the height is. So let's just go through how we do that. Okay, so here's the question we've got. Here's the cylinder, very badly drawn. The radius is 5 centimetres. You're told the volume is 235, and we want to know what the height is. Right, so we want to work out what would the right height be so that this cylinder with a radius of 235, with a radius of 5, has a volume of 235. So let's write the formula out, but we're writing it out the other way round to how we usually write it. Pi r squared times the height equals the volume. Because this time we know what the volume is. So, filling in what we know what pi is, and I'm not putting it all in obviously because that would take forever, times the radius squared is 5 squared. The height is the one we don't know, so we'll just leave that as a letter, makes 235. So there we are, we've got the formula, we've filled in what we know. And with a little bit of work, we can get to what the height is. So we can adapt using the formula to find something that's not the subject of the formula. And I would say that this is a general practice that you can do with any formula, just because it's for a particular quantity. You can usually adapt it if you're told all the other quantities. So, using the calculator here, use the value of pi that's in the calculator, it's more accurate, times 5 squared is that, which is that number. I'm not going to write all that number down, but I'm taking care to leave that number in the calculator because I want to use the most accurate version possible. 5398, I'm just going to put dots. That number times the height makes 235. Okay, so about 80 times the height gives us about 240, so we're expecting the height to come out about 3 centimetres. So, if we want to find the height on its own, we divide this side by 78.5398, so on. So we've got to divide this side by 235. Sorry, we've got to divide this 235 by 78.5398 and so on. Now, this is where the answer button on the Casio calculator is nice, because all we need to do, we don't need to write that number down and then type it back in again. We just do 235 divided by previous answer gives us, and there the answer comes up. We only need this to 2 significant figures, so we don't need to write it all down, but the 2 significant figures would be 2.9, but it's a 9 coming next, so to 2 significant figures, the height of that cone to 2 significant figures, of that cylinder, would be 3 centimetres. There we are. So, what did we do? We wrote the formula the other way round, we filled in all the numbers we knew, we did what working we could to bring things together, we did a divide, we got the answer, and we rounded it off. Okay, so although the formula was originally set up at the start, remember, for finding volume, we can use that formula to find the height. And later on we'll see how we can also find the radius if we're told the volume and the height. Okay, thank you for listening.